Hey, Mortgage Coach community, Dave Savage here, and I'm with Patty Newby. What's up, Patty?
Just having fun, keeping busy, enjoying this busy season.
It has been a good season. So tell everybody what market you're in, a little bit about your mortgage practice, and then we'll get into your biggest strategies and ideas that are working today.
Yeah, so I'm in the Dallas market, and I work clients with, from 150 to 200, because in the Dallas market, it's really hard to find anything under 200 anymore, to $1 million to $2 million. So that's kind of my market. I've been doing this for the last 14 years and using Mortgage Coach since my fabulous company rolled it out, Georgetown Mortgage, I think 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember the exact date.
Yeah, after Sales Mastery 2, maybe 3 years ago.
It's been a lot of mortgage coaches ago.
Yeah, you are definitely a power user. You definitely love Mortgage Coach. You do a great job with it. What kind of production do you do, and do you have a team? If you could tell us a little bit about that.
I have a team. I started off and I was doing $10 and $15 million a year before this, and now we're a little behind our goals because we have a lot of houses that are still under construction. But my goal is to hit 35 million this year. Next year we'll hit 40-ish.
Nice.
Yes, hopefully my CEO's hearing this, so I've already committed that.
Did you hear that, Roy?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll make sure he sees this video. So how many families are you pre-qualifying or running credit reports for every month so we can just get a feel for your workload?
Okay, so I didn't have that prepared. I'm sorry. Okay. Not enough is always the answer. I have a pretty high closing ratio because my referrals are coming from agents, divorce attorneys, financial advisors, and CPAs. So even though rate is always important, I find that I don't get shopped a lot. So, I'm closing, or I'm running, I don't know, probably still about a 40% for application to getting a loan because of people's credit or they can't afford it or the timing, maybe 35% to 40%. My numbers are a couple of months old, so it gets skewed.
No, that's good. And how many loans per month are you closing?
Usually about 10 to 15, which doesn't sound a lot, but we have very complex loans. And then we have like 20 clients right now that we've already done all the work on that are getting ready to close because of the building. We do a lot of work in construction lending as well.
Hey,
so we have a little bit different model than a lot of loan officers.
Yeah, well, first of all, anybody that's closing over 100 loans a month is a 1%er.
And okay, so not 100 loans a month, 100 loans a year.
A year. I'm in 100 a year.
Roy will write that down. I'm like, no, that's not what I committed to.
Yeah, no, you're doing great things. Well, let's get into how you have such a high conversion rate. And I know you're not only very high touch, you ask great questions, you connect with people, but you do leverage technology in smart ways. So talk about how you're leveraging technology to be a better coach, a better advisor to families and realtors.
Well, I grew up, been doing this a long time when interest rates were really high, 8 and 12%, et cetera. But I think it's important to still do a consultation appointment with every single one of my clients. And I pretty much force my clients to do that. And I don't care if they're spending $150,000 or $2 million and they're executive and they've bought 14 houses. I pretty much force them to get on the phone with me or an appointment with me for at least 15 minutes. I think that our executives are really smart folks. We have great buyers and educated buyers with all the technology out there, but maybe they don't take the time to work on a strategy. Previous loan officers have given them a rate and a rate sheet, and it has no meat and potatoes behind it. And I think while technology is awesome, this is still the largest single financial transaction they're ever going to make. So I think it's really important to blend the technology with customization. I call myself the loan designer, as I really try to take the time to design the loan around meeting their house payments, but how long are they going to be in the house? What's their situation? Do they want to go on vacations? What are the other things that you want to do? And until you blend, I think, all that together, you're just a loan officer giving a rate.
I love that. And I love the way you said it. I don't know if I can quote it, but I'm not just doing rates and transactions strategy. I'm helping people design mortgages that achieve their goals. So that was awesome. Okay, so at a high level, you're doing that. And then how are you using Mortgage Coach in your mortgage practice? Where does it come in?
Yeah.
And what are some of the tools and features within Mortgage Coach that you use the most?
So like everybody else, we have them apply. It's very important for me to understand how long they plan to live in the house. Those are questions that the team asks initially, and then I start pricing it out. And sometimes when I'm talking to a client up front, they'll say, I want the cheapest rate. And I'll say, why? And that always, we're like, that's what we're educated to do, get the cheapest rate. And they'll tell me that I usually can get them to say, I want to save money. And so my follow-up question is, if I can show you other ways to save money, would you be interested? Well, who's not interested in that? So I'm going to break it down between a couple of different types of clients. Maybe your first and second time home buyers may not have quite enough funds to get into the house and yet have a lot of financial resources left over. What do we want to do with the 802 credit? Do we want to buy that rate down? What do we want to do? What's the break even? What's the tax benefit? So we go through those options. Maybe they're going to live in the house a few years, or maybe they need to pay off a bunch of debts, preserve their cash for getting almost debt-free, except maybe the mortgage, and then have a little bit larger mortgage than they intended. What's their retirement strategy, and can they recast that loan later on? So those are some of the questions that we ask, and I start to build a strategy. And then when we're doing our consultation appointment, I will show them those numbers. And remember, they get to pick the interest rate and the strategy. It's my job to guide and consult based on me asking the questions.
I love that. How long does it take you to put together a total cost analysis for a family on average?
5 to 7 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, so 5 to 7. Now again,
yeah.
You're someone that has created hundreds of them. So
feels like thousands, I think, but
it may be. And then when I have a feel for what you say to get the information to design the strategy. When you send them the Mortgage Coach report, or before you send it, what do you say to the family so that they click on it, so that they're acting like, oh, there it is? What do you call it, and what does that sound like?
So here's the honest truth. So sometimes I'm doing my Mortgage Coaches at 5 a.m. or on a Saturday, or sometimes I'm in my beautiful office. I'm in my home office right now due to a family situation. So it kind of depends on my background. I love the video aspects, but if not, I will always overlay the audio aspects with it, even if it's 5 in the morning. And then what I do is highlight the payments, the down payments, and the closing costs. So I do a voice recording over that, and I guide them through that, and then I set the appointment, and we're going to go through that. And a lot of times people will apply for, a $300,000 house, but thinking the payment was going to be more like a house of $250,000. So I work with some fabulous realtors who typically don't show their clients the home until I've had that appointment, because we don't want someone to fall in love with a $300,000 house if really what they're looking at is $250,000 or $275,000 on their payment goals. Love
that. Now, do you think, is Mortgage Coach saving you time? Because you mentioned you do the audio note, you do the video.
Well, it's doing a lot of things. The first answer is heck yes. There was one time over the last few years, the client was ours. She's like fine on the rate, and she had been referred to us, and I decided to cheat and not do a Mortgage Coach. And I'm like, why did I do that? Because I ended up going back and doing it, but I was being reactive in my strategy versus proactive. So the answer is yes, it saves time. Let's get this out there. The market right now is just moving around like crazy, and rates can change. In the Dallas market, it may take a client 2, 3, or 4 months to find a house because there's not enough market inventory. Or maybe they're building and we're looking at an interest rate that we have to forecast in the future that's going to be 6 months out. So I provide the client a range, and I make sure they're comfortable with that payment range. Because if rates go up a quarter or an eighth of a point, I don't want them to be heartbroken, A, if I'm locking the rate higher, but also I don't want them to have to focus on another home if they're already in love with X dollar of a home. So I always give them a range, and that range may be a half a point swing depending on what the market is and their credit score. So it's saving me time being proactive. The other thing I do is I go through through our consultation appointment, making sure they're comfortable with the down payment as well. and we agree on a locking strategy ahead of time. I highlight that in yellow as I'm clicking through the presentation with them. So when they come back and say, why did you lock me at that rate? My friend got a quarter more or a quarter less. Well, A, that was 3 months ago. But also, this is what we is I don't then have a conversation with most of my clients when I lock. So when that contract comes in, I look at what our strategy was. I look at what we've agreed to was in their best financial interest, and then I lock their rate. And then we let them know, hey, we thought your closing costs were going to be X. It's actually a little less. And I tend to overquote too. And that typically is, what happens if they move in one county or the other county? Or what happens if it has a $500 HOA transfer fee? I'm going to quote those higher things so that the customer is always bringing in a little less and their house payment is a little less than what I've quoted them. Because I don't know always who they're going to use for insurance and all that stuff. And I know most of us do that, but if we do it up front, I believe proactively, have that agreement on our locking strategy, that saves us time down the line.
Love it. Perfect loan process, great experience, and I can see why you're so successful. So our sales team uses this metaphor because we're always saying, hey, don't do the fee worksheet, which is, a transaction, static piece of paper. That's like going fishing with one hook and some ugly bait. Use the hook and the lure that's beautiful. It's what the fish want, and it's got a couple hooks. It's got 3 hooks, 5 hooks, 6 hooks. What do you think some of the hooks are in the total cost analysis that are most compelling to your families and that you like the most?
Wow, that there's so many. So I think that over time, interest rate is not that big a deal. People will ask me that, what's the interest rate? I don't know, when are you going to send me a contract? But again, the hook is showing them and taking the emotion out of rate to showing it in a color graphical form that, listen, it's not that much different, especially if you look at net worth versus interest only. And I usually show them both views and see how they feel about that emotionally. Also, every once in a while, someone will say, hey, I went to some online company, they're cheaper. So I said, you know what, send me over that and I will have put my quote right there and then the other company's strategy, okay, and I'll put other company on there and I can show them a side by side. And they're like, well, that's not that much difference, is it? And I'm like, no, it's not. But I want them to be very happy. So a lot of my clients ask me, what if I put $500 extra a month on my house payment? And so I show them that from the 3rd tab. Now, I'm all for getting rid of PMI as quickly as possible. But before I want a client to start dumping money into their house, I think we need to do some further analysis. So I will ask them, do you have a good financial advisor? If they say no, I will refer them to one of the folks that I deal with that I've trusted or used over the past 5-6 years or whatever. If they say no, or if they say yes, I suggest that they forward the link of the total cost analysis to that financial advisor. And what have we just done? We've tied ourselves together for a solution. And I'm always willing to get on the phone with that financial advisor, but I always ask them, would you go build or bury $1,000 in the backyard? And they look at me like I have 2 heads, right? No. So instead of start putting all your money toward your house, let's at least do the research. What I like about that 3rd tab, if we have someone who has a great financial advisor and they know what their numbers are, I'll say, what are you earning today in the market? And they're like 6 to 9%. I'm like, okay, let's be conservative. And I will balance out using that 3rd page, the analysis. What does $500 on a mortgage look like compared to $500 with your financial advisor at 6%? And the point is that the customer and the consumer always have the control. So I put that responsibility on a financial advisor because I'm not a financial advisor, but that ties us to the advisor. It makes us more of a consultant role. So now we're talking about saving them maybe $10,000 or $20,000, and then who cares about interest rate? So I use that tab all the time, or almost all the time.
So just kind of filling out the fish hooks, there's the fact that it's graphical, so it's pictures versus linear, the fact that it's strategic and you're able to put in these high level, how to achieve your goals faster, how to pay off your debt faster, how to build up MI faster. So there's a strategic component. There's video. You mentioned that you can add a video to
Or
it.
audio, yes.
Or audio. So you're able to add media, which saves you time and makes it
Yep.
more compelling. It's shareable, so that it's easy for the family to click a link and share it. What else am I missing? What's another? Those are
And then I use that third tab to talk about strategy.
The strategy tab.
Yep. Like I said, I use it frequently. And I use it differently with my clients that are going to live in a house 10 years and retire versus my first-time home buyers that are trying to build equity.
And then what about the fact that when someone clicks on it, you get an alert and you're able to?
Yes, I do like that.
Faster. That's
yeah.
It's not, the family doesn't know it, but you're able to communicate more proactively. And then what about, do you use the live feature where you can actually move Mortgage Coach and make
I
it
do
a
that all
live
the time.
experience?
Yeah, and I'm like, just sit back, relax. I will move your presentation for you, whether it's on a phone or iPad or a computer.
So there we go. We built out 6 awesome hooks, which make it better than the fee worksheet. It only takes you 5 to 7 minutes. Now, what about the fact you often edit it on the mobile device or
Yep.
do the video on mobile? How do you use the mobile as a mortgage professional, a mortgage advisor?
So I'm like, I think one of your other videos, Kelly, I don't use it very often on myself. She was fabulous. I really enjoyed listening to her presentation myself. But yes, I need to do that. So I do edit it on the fly all the time, but I usually do it from my laptop,
So by the way, Kelly's converted. So
yeah, I saw that. I need to do the same thing, Kelly. Good job.
It's been 6 months. So by the way, I'm going to put you on the spot. When you think of all the coaching calls that you've done, what is your favorite video of all the videos that you've watched and people that I've interviewed? Anyone come to mind that's a favorite?
Well, I'm going to have a couple because, in my opinion, I think it's great to learn from the people that are doing better than me or the same volume, whatever, because we can all learn from each other. But it was a gentleman that asked about his realtor, what are your non-negotiables? And I don't remember who that was, but I used that today when I was meeting with a builder. And you're right. He did look at me like, what are you talking about? And I believe it always comes back to communication. And then there was another gentleman on last month's video. It was at the top. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. And he was talking about a lot of good qualification questions. And, I do a good job, right? We do over $30 million, but I had 2 takeaways. So I try to learn something new every day from my peers, and your videos and your calls are an awesome way to learn that.
I love that. By the way, the first one was Jeremy Forcier. It was his 5 realtor questions and how he integrates Mortgage Coach into the realtor conversation. I'm going to put a link below.
Okay.
Also, Patty, I would love to get a link to one of your total cost analysis where you've highlighted something that you think is important. So a link to one of Patty's total cost analysis will be here. A link to Jeremy's 5 realtor questions, which, by the way, is one of my all-time favorite videos. So let's wrap this up. This has been a fantastic call. If you've gotten a takeaway from Patty and you like this conversation, like it and share it. Share it with your mortgage friends. If you're a manager, branch manager, regional, share it with your team. Inspire them to take how they deliver advice, how they are a coach to families, to the next level with Mortgage Coach technology. So as we wrap this up, you're talking to peers. Any last words of wisdom or any advice for the Mortgage Coach community or your Georgetown loan officers? Any last words?
Just use it. You're going to be uncomfortable the first 1 or 2 times, but use it. Don't go back to the old-fashioned way of rate sheets. Yuck.
Oh, I love that. Don't go back to the old-fashioned. And by the way, folks, think about it. Even if it takes you 5 or 10 times of pain, like the first one's going to be tough. Second one's going to be easier than the first, but it's going to be tough. You get past 10, you get past 20, it's 5 minutes. It's easy.
Boom. Just do it.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Patty.
Thank you. Good luck, everybody.
Energy. Thank you.
Bye.